Toto and Susie Wolff are under investigation by Formula One's governing body, the FIA, on a potential compliance breach and conflict of interest. This matter was talked about a couple of days ago, with massive responses coming in from Susie Wolff, Mercedes and even Hamilton. Formula One has had their say as well, and surprisingly enough, they are at odds with the FIA on this. If found to be true, what would be the implications, and are there other conflicts of interest in Formula One that aren't being considered by the FIA? The season has finished in Formula One, but luckily for us fans, the drama is definitely still there, and we hope it will be until at least February. In the latest developments to come out of the paddock, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff and his wife Susie are apparently under investigation for potential conflicts of interest. The significant development follows the FIA's response to complaints from Formula One team leaders concerning the actions of Toto Wolff and Susie Wolff. Toto serves as the team principal of Mercedes, and Susie holds the position of managing director at the F1 Academy, operated by F1's commercial rights holders. There are concerns over the possibility that the Wolffs may have access to information beyond standard channels, raising questions about a potential conflict of interest, and it seems like there are speculations that Toto Wolff possesses confidential insights into Formula One's management activities not available to other team leaders, while Susie is well informed about discussions among team principals that could be advantageous to the FOM. These concerns have fueled worries that discreet conversations among team principals might be shared with F1's senior management, and a Business F1 magazine report suggested that a recent comment by Toto Wolff, coming from information likely obtained from FOM, became the catalyst for other team leaders to voice their grievances. Although rival teams have not publicly expressed their concerns, it is understood that FIA President Mohammed bin Saliem has been approached with the issue of a potential conflict of interest. In response to that, bin Saliem has asked the FIA Compliance Department to investigate. A statement from the FIA on Tuesday, which did not mention any names, said the FIA is aware of media speculation centred on the allegation of confidential information being passed to an F1 team principal by a member of FOM personnel. The FIA Compliance Department is looking into this matter. Almost immediately after this, responses came pouring in from Susie herself, even from Mercedes, and quite frankly, they somehow weren't informed at all about this, which is, in my opinion, quite strange to say the least. It's well known that Formula One and the FIA often find themselves in conflict, given their respective roles as the governing body and the teams, and this ongoing tension raises questions about the necessity of the FIA for Formula One, which in turn has sparked discussions about the potential for Formula One to operate independently. However, the current scenario, especially with Formula One expressing discontent, is very complex, to put it politely. Notably, Formula One is not satisfied, not only because of the FIA's actions, but also because they employ Susie Wolff, which demonstrates that they're not endorsing the situation and contradicts the assumption that they would support any action against Toto Wolff. The frustration for the teams and Formula One as a whole comes from the lack of communication regarding this matter. The FIA initiated the proceedings without informing the concerned parties, and the teams only became aware when media reports, including those from Autosport, started circulating yesterday. This lack of transparency has worsened the challenges and increased the overall frustration among the teams and Formula One stakeholders. Mercedes robustly defended Toto Wolff, saying the allegations are simply without any basis and that they haven't talked with the FIA about any of this. We note the generic statement from the FIA this evening, which responds to unsubstantiated allegations from a single media outlet, and the off-record briefing that has linked it to the team principal of Mercedes-AMG F1, it said. The team has received no communication from the FIA Compliance Department on this topic, and it was highly surprising to learn of the investigation through a media statement. We wholly reject the allegation in the statement and associated media coverage, which wrongly impinges on the integrity and compliance of our team principal. However, what has sent the most shockwaves and even touched upon some very sensitive subjects in today's society was Susie's response. She went hard on these allegations, saying the misogyny is still much presented in the sport and that she is fighting hard and working against it. I am deeply insulted but sadly unsurprised by the public allegations that have been made this evening, she wrote. It is disheartening that my integrity is being called into question in such a manner, especially when it seems to be rooted in intimidatory and misogynistic behaviour and focused on my marital status rather than my abilities. Throughout my career in motorsport, I've encountered and overcome numerous obstacles, and I refuse to let these baseless allegations overshadow my dedication and passion for F1 Academy. As a woman in this sport, I have faced my fair share of challenges, but my commitment to breaking down barriers and paving the way for future generations to succeed remains unwavering. In the strongest possible terms, I reject these allegations. What stirred controversy in this situation is not only Susie Wolff's outright denial of the allegations, but also her suggestion that the investigation might have roots in misogyny. And while acknowledging that the FIA likely has male staff, whether this is the primary reason for the inquiry is a separate matter. Some argue that attributing it to misogyny might not be the most compelling argument initially. However, given Susie Wolff's limited options to defend herself and essentially stating she didn't commit the alleged allegations, this does become a nuanced situation. We can look at this from various perspectives. On one hand, Susie Wolff's point gains some validity when considering the apparent lack of FIA investigations into other potential conflicts of interest within the sport, and this inconsistency does raise questions about the FIA's selective approach to such matters. On the other hand, critics argue that invoking misogyny might not be the strongest defence. Despite these debates, Formula One itself is dissatisfied with the handling of the situation, as it implicates them to some extent. And their employment of Susie Wolff means that any lack of integrity or compliance on her part reflects poorly on the organisation. FIA has taken a wild shot at these allegations, as they are very serious and could potentially end with severe consequences for the governing body, because proving the allegations from either side will be very challenging. According to reports from Business F1 magazine, team principals claim that Toto Wolff made remarks indicating knowledge he shouldn't have possessed, suggesting Susie Wolff might have informed him. However, delving into the truth of such discussions is close to impossible. The FIA has initiated an investigation, but the extent to which it can progress, particularly in light of the denials from Susie Wolff, Toto Wolff and Formula One itself, remains uncertain. This situation has increased tensions with FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem, as recent reports by Andrew Benson of the BBC suggest if Sulayem's actions are perceived as detrimental to the sport, F1 owners Liberty Media might contemplate breaking away from the FIA. This prospect has long been a potential threat, with Formula One questioning the necessity of the FIA's governance, and the lack of communication between the FIA and key stakeholders, such as Formula One and Mercedes, adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. While it might be argued that not informing them was the correct procedural move, considering the potential conflict of interest involving key personnel, Formula One is understandably unhappy with the optics of a high-profile investigation involving one of its most senior and popular figures. Many people question the arrangement where Red Bull has been allowed to own two teams in Formula One without apparent competition between them, and over the years this has led to concerns about the potential for manipulation, with scenarios where one Red Bull driver might impede another on the track, or strategic decisions that could favour one team over the other. Instances like the 2022 race at Zandvoort, where Yuki Tsunoda was sent back out under questionable circumstances, causing a safety car, helped Verstappen, while Red Bull's ownership of two teams has provided them with certain advantages. It has been a long-standing practice in Formula One, and in the early days, when there was a lack of investment interest, such arrangements were more acceptable. However, the sport has, of course, evolved, and there is now increased interest and potential buyers. years. Notably, Red Bull reportedly received a substantial offer of $1.2 billion to sell Toro Rosso, now AlphaTauri, but they chose to retain it. We'll see how this investigation ends up, I guess, but one thing is for certain, it's the FIA's head on a platter here, because if the investigation proves to be a dead end, the governing body will lose a lot of credibility among the fans, pundits, and most importantly, the teams. And we might just see what we talked about earlier, a Liberty Media breakaway from the FIA, which is certainly going to be a bombshell of a move for the American owners. But time will tell. So for now, let's follow this closely. Thank you for watching this video. Let us know your thoughts about Toto and Susie Wolff in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.